Different's great, but being different for the sake of being different, I'm not a big fan of, right? If you just want to be different for the sake
technology
of it. But
increased, I would hide behind it.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes.
Because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Master Connector Show. I'm your co-host, Rob Genovesi, and I hope you're joining us every single week. We're going on live 1 p.m. Wednesdays Eastern Time here on LinkedIn, and we're also broadcasting out to YouTube as well. And you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to catch the audio version of the show. And listen, we do have a great show for you today. As always, Steve Spiro, my co-host and longtime friend, is bringing amazing guests. You know, the whole idea here is that we want to, selfishly, he and I want to connect with amazing people, right? We want to level up our game, but we want to bring them to you to help you level up. So you're going to get to learn from people's experiences, their skills, their stories, which are so compelling. And today is no different. You know, today's show talking about going from crisis to opportunity. And most people will, have a crisis and just stop. And look, nobody would, everybody's forgiven if there's a crisis, right? And you don't do anything, but there's an opportunity in there. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And like I said, we have a great guests that are always coming in every single week. So go to masterconnector.show and you can see who's booked out. Look, if you can't make it every week, but I suggest you bookmark your calendar so you don't miss a show. But if you can't, you can go to masterconnector.show and you can find the person that you need to hear from that maybe is going to help you level up, maybe help make that connection so that you can further your opportunity, whatever it may be, because we're bringing very accomplished people. And speaking of accomplished people, my buddy Steve, like we go back 26 years, of course, 2 former shy guys, 2 introverts who conquered shyness, still introverts though. It's kind of an energy thing, but here we are hosting a show, talking with people. He and I are connectors. We have constantly and for years been connecting with people because we know that the best things come from when you connect with people. But help me bring him, because he is the master connector, to the stage, Mr. Steve Spiro. What's up, Steve?
Hey, Rob G. How you doing, sir? Great to have. Great, man. It has been such a journey. And, we're going to talk about crisis, from crisis to opportunity. And not that it was a crisis, but, obviously Cameron, who was on our 200th episode, not having him, wow, that was a bit of a crisis. But the opportunity was having you as a co-host now. I think it's not putting down Cameron and the partnership, but I think we've been able to take it and taking it to the next level. So super excited to partner with you. But yeah, it's amazing. Well, anyway, what's going on, friends? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. So excited to be on. Can't wait for you to hear David. It's going to be an incredible show. But listen, we all go through stuff. It's just part of life, right? I mean, you guys know some of my story. I was bullied as a kid, right? I think if I wasn't bullied, I wouldn't be a double black belt today. So I think that crisis, that challenge, that adversity, became a great opportunity. And it's Think and Grow Rich, Master Key to Riches. I'm blanking on the name. Napoleon Hill. There you go. He wrote a couple books, and he wrote, in every adversity lies a seed of equal or greater benefit. And so there is incredible, benefits that come if you continue to press forward. Winston Churchill said it, right? Never give up, right? Never. You just got to know that there's going to be a silver lining. And sometimes it's a cliche to people, but I believe it's true. I've learned that if you don't quit, you keep persevering, good things are going to come. It's a season, right? There's a scripture, right? I walk through the valley of darkness, right? Remember, I walked through. It's not, I walked there to stay, right? You're just passing through. So you want to make sure that when these negative things happen, that you're understanding. You want to have hope. You want to believe that you want to have faith. Faith that maybe faith in something bigger than yourself, right? I believe that there's the God in heaven, but if you believe in whatever you believe in, but maybe it's just higher power, whatever. But believe that something greater has your back, and that's what I believe every time. And because of that, it gives me the faith and the confidence and the peace to keep moving forward, keep pursuing, keep persevering, right? You guys also know some of my story in terms of I was dyslexic. And I think that's been a great thing, right? And, I remember trying to read to the class and turning beet red and stuttering and all that stuff, just hard to read. Well, listen, what that did for me is it made me creative, a creative problem solver. I've learned certain programs, where I didn't have anybody teaching. I didn't do a manual. I couldn't use a manual. It's just not the way my brain works. But I figured it out, and I've been able to teach myself stuff and learn how to work around challenges. Right. Every now and then we'll get a piece of furniture from IKEA, and I can't even do that manual. So I'll do a decent job, although sometimes a shelf is backwards or I'm missing a screw in it. It kind of may not have much security or whatever. But the majority of it is I'm able to work around it and make it work. And to me, whenever there's a struggle or challenge, it's like a boulder in front of you. You break through it, with every bit of your strength. You go around it, you go under it, you go over it, but you figure it out because there's something great beyond the crisis and the challenge. So I am just pumped. So get ready for incredible. By the way, if you're here, you make sure you get in the comments, connect with each other. This is the Master Connector Show. So we want to hear where you're from, what country, what state, what city, whatever. And make sure if you have any questions, put them in the chat. But I am ready to pass it to you, sir. If you're ready, community, type in "Let's go." Turn it to you, sir.
Thanks, Steve. Look, we're not going to waste any more time. David Woods Bartley has experienced both great success and profound challenges, from leading a nationally recognized nonprofit to battling childhood trauma and life-threatening mental illness. After surviving a suicide attempt, he committed himself to transforming conversations around mental health, suicide, and male sexual trauma. Now a global thought leader, TEDx speaker, and mental health advocate, David has delivered over 800 presentations worldwide, including for the U.S. military, NASA, FDA, top universities. He holds multiple mental health certifications and works to bring these critical topics out of the shadows, inspiring hope and resilience in individuals and organizations everywhere. Please welcome to the show, Mr. David Woods Bartley. What's up, David?
Brothers, thank you so much. What an incredible, and Steve, I did not know that you were a double black belt. And you know what? Thank you also for reminding me, who does not have the challenge of dyslexia, to expand my compassion and empathy down to the minutia when you talk about, like, hey, I'm trying to put some furniture together and I have to deal with looking at the man. That's extraordinary. And it's interesting because until recently, I didn't realize, I had this thought, because you all are so great about talking about resilience, that resilience is impossible without experience.
I love that.
Yeah. I know, it's just like, oh, wow. Which is what you quoted Napoleon Hill and of course, Churchill. And we talked about Brene Brown, Rob and I, before the show. And I'm just pumped to be here.
We're pumped to have you here. So welcome to the Master Connector Show. And I know this has been a while coming, and appreciate you being patient and being on with us here. It's going to be amazing. So we touched on hope, right? So community, I want you to, if you can, type in the hashtag hope, and we're going to ask David his first question to kick us off. And feel free, I know you have an amazing story, so whatever you feel like you want to throw in there, we want to hear your story big time. I know Rob alluded to in the intro, but what was the turning point that helped you see hope in the middle of your crisis?
That's a great question. And really it was August 31st, 2011. I live in Northern California, about 30 minutes north of Sacramento. And on that day, where you found me was on the 730-foot tall Forest Hill Bridge, which is 500 feet further off the ground than its more famous cousin in San Francisco. And it's the fourth tallest bridge in the country. And I was bent over, looking down at the North Fork of the American River. Hope was nowhere to be found. Hope was gone. And what happened was, a police officer approached me from the left-hand side. And what's interesting, what he did not do was make any contact with me. What he did do, and this will speak to your hearts, brothers, he created connection. And my belief, the platform of my work is that connection creates this thing called hope. And hope is the thing that saves lives. And he did it in the most beautiful, wonderful ways that we can talk about. And it's things that I go around and encouraging people to do, because there's a great doctor. His name is Dr. Drew Ramsey. He is a wild man on Instagram. He's a psychiatrist. And he reminds us this. He says, someone you see today is thinking about killing themselves. Your smile, your question, your love could save them. Trust me, they told me it did.
That's incredible. Yeah, listen, one of the things, as you Rob alluded to, I'll just speak for myself, introvert, right? And for a long time, extremely wounded and broken as an individual. And when you're so wounded and broken like I was, you're only thinking self-protection. So I wasn't thinking about other people. But Rob and I got around some of the same people, but mentors and some groups of entrepreneurs, and we were we were taught you need to take your eyes off yourself and put them on other people. And when you're in at the checkout, say something nice, like don't. And Brene Brown talks about it, right? We treat people like there's a thing, not like a person. And just by saying something nice, you never know, that could be that one piece, that connection that really changes it all for them, right? And so we want to talk about connections. So let's.
Wait, I got to jump in here. I'm jumping in.
Rob,
this is what we talked about, where I just interrupt, because there's a really powerful little thing. I mean, what David said, is a very chilling thought, that somebody that you meet or see might be thinking of committing suicide. And even that's a very extreme example. I have 4 kids. I taught my kids, if somebody is acting out, if somebody seems angry, or if they're just seem to be coming at you for no reason, I always told them, I said, just be kind. You never know what's going on behind closed doors. And I hope that they carry that with them, because that thought, keeps it away from us and thinking, what's wrong with that person? How dare they? And us going back at them. You don't know what's going on in people's lives.
Well, and if I may, brother, you'll appreciate this. I don't know if you know Parker Palmer. Parker Palmer, he's a humanitarian. He's very, very well known within the world of education. And Rob, to your point, and here's what he says. He says, violence is what happens when we don't know what else to do with our suffering.
That's powerful. That's crazy.
Yeah. And if I can, I think this might be the best place. So the Brene Brown, of course, everything she says is I'm so angry that she's so good. She's like, how could you be that brilliant?
It's a nugget fest.
It's incredible. So here's what, and this is, so she put connection. Here's what she says. I define connection as the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and they derive strength and sustenance from the relationship.
That's so powerful. That's like, boom, mic drop right there.
Exactly what I do every time. And I say, so for me to go circle all the way back to hope, I say there's only one emotion that comes out of that.
Yeah.
We know what it's like. This right here, right now, is an experience of me feeling connected with both of you. Is I have the feeling of hope. And so I'm obsessed, obviously, with definitions and quotations. And in the dictionary, I always go to the Cambridge Dictionary, because I figure English people know the English language better than I do. And so hope is defined as the feeling that what is wanted can be had. So if you're suicidal, if you lined up 10,000 people who are like me, and you say, okay, you only get to describe your experience by one feeling, they're all going to say the same thing. They're all going to say hopeless.
Yeah.
So therefore, if the converse, we learn this in math, must be true, then if I can provide you with the feeling that what is wanted can be had, and what is wanted is my pain to go away, if I can create the space where you feel hope, will you stay around?
Yeah.
Well, of course I will. Well, of course. No one attempts suicide when they feel hope, not that emotion.
Yeah. Listen, if you're hearing this and there is a feeling of despair or hopelessness, I want you to reach out to somebody, reach out professionally. I know there's some 800 numbers. Maybe Rob can find the number in case this is reaching somebody right now that needs hope. But I'm hoping that this message inspires you. And we spoke about it back in the green room. A lot of it is just connection. Just reach out, just talking to somebody. It's just so important. So I want to talk about connections, community. Just type in #connection. Before I ask this question, just want to acknowledge a few people, right? It's great. Mr. Chris Dutra in the house. I love Chris. He's my bud, Portchester guy, fellow. Actually, he might be in White Plains now. I don't know. I thought he was Portchester, but anyway, Yolanda, of course, Yolanda Chin. Just love and appreciate you being incredible friend of the show, always on with us. It's not a show unless Yolanda's in the show. We got Coach Princey in the house here, and then Lynette. So it looks like we're kind of global today. We're seeing some people from India, some people from Kenya. Pretty amazing. But hopes everywhere, for sure. And then we also have Aika in the house. Hoping I'm pronouncing your name properly. And Chris is acknowledging me. You are the man. So I know I'm your man, but you're the man. Anyway, all right, let's talk about connection. How did building connections with others play a role in your recovery and your growth?
It's everything. It's the of my I talk about that the path that I've journeyed from mental healthness to mental wellness is you have to be committed to self-care. So it's body, mind, and spirit. So diet, sleep, exercise, time outside, meds, counseling, therapy, group, ECT, which we can talk about. But the foundation is connection. The experience I need to feel hope. And the way to be hope is for me to be connected. And so, you talk about names. What I preach about, quite frankly, is there's 3 methods of connection. 1 is recognition, 2 is expression, 3 is understanding. And the first thing I talk about is become great at using and remembering people's names, because it was Dale Carnegie who said that to a person, the sound of that person's name is the sweetest sound in any language. So the homework assignment to everybody around the world who is tuning into this amazing show is next time you go out for a meal, you're going to be in relationship with that server for a good hour. Every time, not every other, not every third, every single time that soul comes to the table, use their name.
That's awesome.
And then you text me at the end of that and you tell me what happens, and you'll be amazed.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, I bring up my kids often because they have taught me how to lead people, right? Because the kids they follow their parents, right? So there's an immense responsibility on my shoulders as a parent, and they're older now, but I would do that in the restaurants. And I remember my son, he's my youngest. He's 18 now, but when he was much younger, he'd go, "Dad, why are you calling her by her first name? Do you know her?" And I go, "No." He goes, "Well, why do you do that?" I said, "Well, first of all, it makes her feel like she's valued." I said, and second of all, it's right there on her. Obviously, she wants me to call her by her name.
Love that. That's great. I love it. That's awesome. Well, let's keep this ball rolling. This has been tremendous, and I love what you said, David, about the value of somebody's name. It's so important. We talk about that on the show a lot, right? The name and learning about them, yes, and what makes them tick. The most important favorite topic is themselves, unfortunately, which might sound selfish, but it's human nature. We can't argue with that. But I know speaking of which, you've been through a lot. And you've got incredible resilience. So we want to speak about and learn about that. So type in #resilience community. But what mindset shifts help you turn tragedy into opportunity, for something greater?
It really, not to be repetitive or redundant, but it really goes back to connection. Because there is no way that I would have been able to make this journey from hellness to wellness without the people in my life. It's
another mic drop. Wellness to wellness.
Absolutely, brother. And it has been, what's interesting. So I grew up, I'm the youngest of 4. I have 3 heroes. It just happened to be my brothers, John, Jim, and Tom. My eldest did 42 years in uniform in the Army, enlisted, retired as a 2-star. He's really my father, because we lost our father when I was just 7. He was 18. When I was 12, unfortunately, I was raped and sodomized by a Boy Scout leader. And so I was raised, I'm 62. I was raised in the 70s, and my tormentor, my abuser, the evildoer, every time he would do these horrific things to me, he would say, "David, don't forget, these are initiations and all the boys go through it, but we never talk about it." And so I didn't. And it's Maya Angelou who said, there's no greater agony than bearing the weight of an untold story. So by the time August 31st, 2011 came, and I was married to an amazing woman who, thank God, is still a great friend of mine. We're running a nationally recognized end-of-life animal sanctuary. We had 14 months earlier been in USA Today, and there I was, chest pressed up against the fence, a heavy thought away from killing myself. It had that officer not created connection by the way of two simple questions, I wouldn't be here. And then it was it's amazing how life, the universe will put people in your presence at the right and perfect time. So I'm taken off the bridge to an emergency room. Now I'm going to a psych ward, and I'm freaked out, and why didn't you let me kill myself? All these different things. And I'll never forget, the man's name was Tom. He was huge. He was like a huge bear. And he sensed like my man's in trouble. And I'll never forget, his hand was like seeming like 10 times the size of mine. And he put it right on my heart. And he said, brother, I can only imagine how you're feeling. Interesting. What he didn't say was, I know exactly how you feel. What he said was, I can only imagine how you're feeling, but you got to trust me. You're going to a good place, and these are good people. And he says, he said, I don't know what it is about you, but I know you're going to be okay. And here 14 years later, I would love to somehow find that man and say, you know what? Thank you. And it's been moment by moment by moment by moment by moment, person by person by person by person. And especially for we men, okay, you got to suck it up, buttercup. You know what? That is an outdated modality. That does not work. We gotta. You're not gonna go from hell to well unless you are partnered with people. It ain't gonna happen.
David, thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing. And obviously, it's still something that, man, I just got to say thank you. Yeah, I mean, and to me, true connection is being vulnerable. It's being authentic. It's telling your story. And I was on a podcast recently, and I told my story, and I got a tiny bit, not maybe as much as you got choked up. I got a little choked up, and then he proceeded to tell his little bit of his background. He got choked up, and I asked him after we were finished with the recording. I said, "Has that ever happened before?" He said, "No, first time." I said, "Okay, great. I did my job." Because I think what happens is, especially as men, we're trained to be stoic. We're trained to be, like you said, suck it up, buttercup. I love that. I'm going to use that now. I'm going to give you credit one time, and the second time I use it, it's mine. But anyway.
Do it, brother.
But no, it's so true. And it's refreshing to hear, just not just anybody, but obviously men to be able to share from the heart and what's going on. So this has been great.
Yeah, I will say that just to add on to that, because the audience needs to understand something. When you see a guy like David, get emotional about it. It's coming from obviously a place that was very traumatic, right? And everybody's got their own story. And I remember sitting in a room and listening to a guy talk, and he didn't have the story you had, David, but he had a story. And I saw his eyes well up as he was talking, and maybe only the front row caught it. And I remember at that moment, I remember it like it was yesterday, I felt this connection to him.
Yeah.
And I listened, and I held him in a higher regard, because I thought, wow, he's letting it out. He's not that, that typical, the macho guy who doesn't display any emotions and nothing hurts him. And I thought, wow. And I have adopted that and let that out myself. And we talked about, vulnerability, and Brene Brown and her great talk and book on that, where when you let that out, you have connection with somebody. Somebody connects in your vulnerability. I think that's a real big key right there for our audience. Yeah. Don't try and be the be all and end all, because nobody buys it. Nobody wants it.
And, if I may, so my first wife and I, Deanna and I, we did not have children. We had all these animals. My second beloved is 20 years younger than me. Oh, yeah. And it came with these three gorgeous souls. I have two, a daughter 14, a daughter 16, and a daughter and a son who's 19. They have a great dad. I'm the bonus guy. I'm not the stepdad. I'm the bonus dad. I don't like that. I don't like the word stepdad. Bonus dad. They have a great bonus mom, and it's this opportunity. I mean, they came into my life. I was 55, and just learning how to just add to what the other three amazing parents are doing. And so it was interesting. This 2024, my left hip decided to go to war with me, and it was awful. So I just had it replaced 6 weeks ago, and the transformation has been nothing short of amazing. But just to give you context, so it was Christmas Day. The girls were away at their wonderful dad's. My son was here with me, and my wife was here. And I was up early in the morning, about 7 o'clock, and I was in the kitchen, and I fainted. I mean, I literally just passed out. And thankfully, I was able to catch myself. But I'm on the ground. I can't put any pressure on my left leg because of my hip was that bad. My phone is too far away, and I'm like, how in the heck am I going to get up? All of a sudden, my son, at 7 o'clock in the morning, which never happens, walks around the corner, and he says, David, my God, are you okay? And I'm like, brother, buddy, I'm not. And so he scoops me up like I'm nothing, and then walks me to here and there, and everything's fine. Here's the point of the story, and when people say, oh yeah, the younger generation, they're going to hell. Well, let me just tell you that they're not, because my son. Later in the day, he says, can I say something? I said, of course you can, buddy. And he says, you might have thought I saw you as weak when you were laying on the ground. But when you asked for help, I saw you as strong.
Mm-hmm. That's so powerful.
Wow. So It goes to Brother Rob, what you're saying, and to Steve, what you're saying, that whole thing. So I was like, wow.
Yeah. You're stronger for showing, your vulnerability. You're not weaker. That's the bottom line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because you have a strong enough self-esteem that you're not concerned about what other people think, which is weak.
Yeah.
I want to finish up real quick here. I want to sneak one more question in, and it's kind of like a call to action, so to speak. It's on, I would say legacy. So community #legacy, but what impact do you hope your journey will have on others facing similar struggles?
What I want is, what I teach people is that they can have connection. They can create connection with anybody, anytime, any place, anywhere, by the three methods that I teach. I'm nothing special. I'm a product of the people in my life. And because you can do this, and I practice it, both of you practice it every single day of our lives, we know that you can have hope. And if somebody is suffering, and if somebody is suicidal, and they create connection, have the experience of hope in that moment, they're safe. And so that's what I want to do. And I want to give one more shout out. It's a quote, a guy named Matthew on Twitter, and I'm never on Twitter, but thank goodness I was this one day, and he loves cats. And here's how he defines hope. He says, people think of hope as delicate and ephemeral, made up of whispers and spider webs. It's not. Hope has dirt on her face, blood on her knuckles, the grit of cobblestone in her hair, and she just spit out a tooth as she rises for another go.
You need to send that to me.
I will. That's why people don't kill themselves when they feel that emotion. Just spit out another tooth as she rises for another go. Yes, I will send that to you, brothers.
We're amazing. We're winding down the show here, but David, this has been incredible. I know you have something you want to offer our community that's incredible value besides the amazing value you provided us for the show. But would you tell us about what you like to offer the community?
Yeah, I do. So I wrote a children's book called The Blue Elephant, and it is basically my story. And it came from the universe. I can take no credit for it because it literally downloaded into my head in like a minute. It's only 12 pages. It is phenomenal because the universe wrote it. And so I am happy to send that to the first 5 people who respond and let me know how I can get it to you, and let me know how I can be of support to you in any way, shape, or form. My job is to give back because of people who have supported and loved me.
That's great. Awesome. Good stuff. Well, what's the best way for our community to reach you, David?
So I think probably easiest is probably email, which is david@davidwoodsbartley.com. I'll also give out my phone number. I'm happy to give it out. It's 916-247-6389. Feel free to call, text. Yeah.
Love that. Talk about vulnerability. Well, we appreciate you. There you go. This is your email for those who need to see it. Rob is incredible. So appreciate you. I'll see you a couple minutes in the green room as we wrap up the show. But thank you, David.
Okay, brother. My pleasure. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Steve.
Absolutely. All right. Awesome. Well, incredible. So listen, every week we bring amazing guests. It always feels like, okay, that was the best. Can't get better. And I don't know, but we'll see. Episode 203 is coming up on the 19th. Weathering Storms to Find Purpose with Jay Pasqua. Going to be another incredible show. If you like this one, you're going to love this one and the next one coming up. It's sort of along the lines now of kind of overcoming obstacles. It's interesting, which is one of the pillars of our show, having grit. But go to the Master Connector show. You can learn more about this next show coming up, about Pasqua, about Jay Pasqua, and also about some of the other upcoming shows. And if you're interested in being a host of our show, or one of the episodes, feel free to go ahead and go to Master Connector show, and you can learn all about that as well. But I want to close with a story. After a near fatal car accident, which shattered his body and left him in a coma, Hal Elrod was told he might never walk again. Refusing to accept defeat, he embraced a mindset of resilience, not only recovering, but later running an ultramarathon and writing The Miracle Morning, a book that transformed millions of lives. His crisis became the foundation for global movement, proving that even life's darkest moments can lead to extraordinary opportunities. Folks, when crisis comes, and we know it will, let's look for the opportunity and to continue to move forward and succeed, so ultimately we could shine our light. God bless. See you next week.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives